Happy Thursday. And this is the MSK show. And let's get started.
The MSK show. No prep racing, street racing, tech, the latest news, and the best interviews. You'll hear it here. The MSK show is Trent, that no prep guy, Brian, the man, the myth, the legend, and Limpy. Keep banging that like. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. And we'll be back soon. Find us on Facebook at MSK, on TikTok at Midwest_Streets, on Instagram at Midwest.Streets, and on YouTube at MSK Midwest Streets. We'll see you next time on the MSK show.
All right, everybody. We have Clifton Caudle, Racemaster, with us right here on the flashlight. And we're going to get started. We're going to share with him about his events and get to know him a little bit better today. We have the godfather of OG flashlight extraordinaire across the world. Limpy here with us. And Trent will be joining us a little bit later on. And we're going to get started. I'm going to play a short video clip.
Thanks for the warning.
Yeah, there we go, right? Oh, we got to start it off from forgetting one thing, Limpy. The hand signal. There we go. So we're going to get started here. I'll share a clip here. For the last time that I saw Clifton, we were together. I'll play this for you guys here.
Oh boy.
So this is the part where I was explaining where Chase is definitely a race.
Fuck that bullshit.
That was a cold night, but man, we were gonna have fun.
Is it lagging or is it just me?
What was that again?
Is it lagging or is it just me?
It could be. Are you through the browser link?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know if it was just me or is it just...
It might be just you. I'm fine.
Yeah, it's probably just me because I'm out in the sticks.
Yeah. So Clifton, I know you have a love for the streets, but you also have a love for the track too, as far as I understand.
Yeah, I love racing. Really, you know, no matter what street or track, as long as somebody's out there trying to go faster, build a faster car, just loving the sport. Really, that's what I love about it. Obviously, there's certain perks that you get at the track that you don't get on the street, like being able to, actually, park a trailer and get out and, take your time and do stuff like that. I really am big into grudge racing. Grew up going to little grassroots tracks around me, and yeah, man, I love the whole thing. Track, street, it don't matter.
Awesome. So I heard that you have like a points series or something going on this year. You're doing something a little bit different from what I heard.
Yeah. So the whole 2022 tour No Prep that I'm doing is I want to do something a little bit different because a lot of people like having big races at their home track or things like that. And one of my things that I've done for a long time with my friends is travel around, go to new tracks and new places and stuff. And right now, No Prep is, growing and getting really big. So I figured if I could just take all my friends and people who like to go race with me and take them to new places and meet new people, then I just figured that'd be awesome. And something to kind of just sweeten the pot a little bit, get more people out as an incentive. Design a point series to go along with it, to where not just show up and win, but just participate. And then from there, at the end, we're still kind of debating on what exactly to do at the end. But hopefully, depending on how well it is, I'll be able to, award the guys who are coming out there busting their ass and, actually racing instead of just, sitting at home.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I have, here's the schedule right here, if you guys can take a look at it. So he's got, how many events do you have there total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 events total going for the year. So that's awesome. So, bear with me. I was just reading something. So you're very excited about doing that, it looks like. Your first event, where is that going to be at?
The first event's going to be at Shady Side Dragway in Shelby, North Carolina. It's it's an outlaw track there. It's a real popular track around here. A lot of people love it. It's very like if there ever was a grassroots grudge style track, it would be that one. And like I said, it's an outlaw track, so real popular around me, and hopefully we can have some fun. I just started lock-ins a couple of days ago, and right now I think I have somewhere around 25 or so small tires and right about 30 street cars. Okay,
nice.
Quote unquote street cars.
Very nice. So, and now you said you were doing something, a different track this year. I think something you wanted to try to do something a little bit different, if I remember right.
Yeah. So just basically get as many new tracks as possible in there, and do I don't know, keep it the same in the sense of consistent rules and trying to run a consistent event where everybody has a good time and everybody's able to just stay organized, but also new places and new people and things like that, and just kind of take people out of their comfort zone, taking places where they've never made passes, make the hit straight off the trailer. Some tracks look like you can put all the power down straight from the start, and you end up blowing the tires off, and you know what I mean, like really make people adapt and learn how to get down pretty much any surface.
Okay, very cool. I saw you were going to Colburn, I believe, that kind of that sketchy track too this year.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Twin River Raceway.
That's what it was, Twin Rivers. There we go. Nice. Yep. Well, very cool. We'll look forward to all those. Definitely, it's going to be a great year for you this year, and it's kind of cool. I like it. You're doing like your own point series too. So what are you doing for like the grand person who wins the most points and all that? What kind of? So,
one of my best friends, Robert Presnell, him and his wife own Gypsy Twist Designs in Spartanburg, South Carolina. He basically they're going to sponsor the small tire class with a $5,000 cash prize to the winner at one of the events. It's kind of up to him on which one he wants to do it at. They're going to announce it probably like a week or so before, just to basically reward the racers for all the guys who come out there and just really bust butt doing it. I mean, I've seen, and that's the same thing with the point series. I know guys who are literally at every single no prep event out there that have never went more than 2 rounds, and you know what I mean. And I also know people who are out there winning every single time, and I always see the same people out there. So the whole thing about the point series, it's nice to kind of reward those guys who are really busting their asses, and you can really tell who wants it and who's getting after it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Definitely for sure. Definitely for sure. And well, I look forward to seeing your events, and I think this is the second series that where I saw for points that was going on, and I think we should see a lot more of that. I think going on too with other groups as well. I think it's a new trend that's going to start to get going. And you have back of the track and front of the track kind of mixed in there.
So, a lot of these are going to be front of the track. I don't have any back of the tracks on here specifically, but ones like Coburn and like Paradise Dragway down there, and a couple of other ones, we're going to get them as scraped as possible. Pretty much scrape the track, wash the track, make it as close to the backside as possible. And I went ahead and I've been working with people on these dates for probably about the last 6 months, and just through calling, texting, getting in touch with people, it was kind of hard to find a lot of tracks that really would let you do a backside event on it. And right now I've got about 3 of them, that say, if this year works good and, gets a decent following, that we should be able to, go there and do it. And I'm hoping, the more tracks to see how popular this is and how much we love it, the more they'll start to open up to the idea of back of the track.
That's cool. How do you feel about like back of the track racing versus front side? I mean, you've seen a lot of the back of the track is starting to get more popular nowadays, for example.
Oh yeah. Really, I mean, I love them both. My favorite, though, I'd say would definitely be back of the track, just because it's a tuning game, and it's one of those things where, and that's really one of the reasons why we love no prep in general, is just because money eventually will take over everything. But for now, it's a tuning game. You know what I mean? I've seen people come there with $200,000 cars and 2,000 horsepower that get beat by somebody's car that they built in the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why we love the streets too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the streets are definitely a place to be. I have a love for the streets, much like yourself.
Yeah,
we can't really talk too much about secret stuff, but I'm sure there'll be lots of fun this year in addition to everything else. But, so why don't we tell us a little about yourself and some of your background, how you got into racing?
Yeah, sure. So I've always been into cars. Ever since I was young. My dad was a truck driver. He worked on all of his stuff. He used to have muscle cars back in the day. He used to always tell me about them, and I just grew up, loving Mustangs, Camaros, stuff like that with my friends. And then whenever I got old enough to, start going out with some of my friends to drag strips, started there and going to car meets around in, my local area. And I always went there, and no matter what it was, it didn't matter if it was fast or slow or anything. I was just like, let's go racing. Let's go find somewhere to go racing. Let's, go do some street racing somewhere. And it's so funny to, sit here and talk about now. And like, I would literally like look back, like, I don't know, 5, 6, 8 years ago, however long, and see the videos. And I thought that we were just the coolest, most badass thing in the world. And then I look at it now, I'm like, oh my God, like it's embarrassing. But I mean, you got to start somewhere, and that love of cars, it just grew and grew and grew. And like, I mean, that's my hobby, my passion. That's, really everything I love. I mean, 99% of all my friends are car friends or have something to do with racing. And, I work at the drive shaft shop, so I'm always around cars, car parts. When I get off from there, I go home and watch racing videos. And then on the weekends, if I'm not home, I'm at a racetrack or the street. So it's, it's basically, it's a lifestyle. You definitely have to live it. And I love every minute of it.
That's awesome. Limpy,
I grew up watching Limpy too. I remember there was one specific race. I don't remember what it was, but I remember watching it on YouTube. It was like really, really, really like bad grainy footage. it was, and I'm sure, Chris, you remember this. There's two videos I remember specifically. There was one, it was a very, very dark street. It was back in I think it was OKC or something. I think it was Dominator or somebody rolled their car at the very, very end of the street.
No, I was janitor.
Yeah. And I remember seeing that video. I think it was on YouTube or something, and just was like, whoa. And like watching all those races back then. And there was one that I also remember back when people used to sell the DVDs of the races. It was where was it? It was Boosted GT, and somebody were racing outside of a fence, and I remember he did a burnout, and the cop tried to come in there and something. But I mean, there's so many ones that I can go back to and just and think about it from years and years ago. And I always remember seeing you out there. I was like that's cool. I want to be him one day.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Well, I'm on my way, but I cut my beard. So.
Yeah, you're talking about that was an OKC at the at BNR.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good old times, good old days back then.
Do you remember? Do you know what year that was by chance?
Probably 07, maybe 08.
Okay, I was 12. No, 13. No, I was in 08. I was 14. Yeah, I was 14.
Yeah.
So
about 10 years ago, I guess.
And that's back whenever I was thinking, do I want to be, a scientist or, a doctor or, I was just like, nah. I like cars.
We like cars and women.
Yeah. I remember there was this one, who was it, TBR Racing. They called it. I was talking to them about getting a Pro Mod drive shaft made. And I was being all professional at my job and this and that. And I was like, oh, TBR, that's a cool name. He was like, yeah, it stands for Titties, Beer, and Racing. And I just busted out laughing. And I was like, all right, man, that's my kind of place.
Hell yeah. Y'all got an opening?
In more ways than one. Oh, wait, nope. Family show, can't say that.
Yeah. So, do you have I know you have, what is your favorite street race that you've put on?
Probably my favorite race that I ever put on was probably the last one, before Dig or Die. The one where, Billy got a little startled. That was probably, one of my favorites, either that one or, the one before that, but just that road in general. It's a tight, sketchy one, and it always makes for some good racing.
Oh yeah. I remember that road.
Yeah,
man, I remember going to that one road, and I'm like, man, are they taking us out here to kill us somewhere or something? Because there ain't nothing out here.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Then you roll up in there and you see all the cars and stuff, and you're all like, okay, good.
Yeah, and man, I tell you, we just looking at some of the videos from the tire crack camera, I didn't realize until this past time how close they actually got to me. I know Sam Hood, nitrous car with the bull horns, he would always burn my legs or my hand or something every time that I would go by on that. But man, that road's fast, but it's very, very, very tight.
Yeah.
But luckily, there's only grass really around, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's we were able to get it done with 20 and over 25 cars each time, so it was a lot of fun. I know Kendall Goen won there once, and Sam Hood has won it 3 times.
Yeah, I think Sam should be banned since he's a 3-time winner. He should be banned.
Yeah, I was thinking next time I gotta get somebody to put some money on Sam's head or something, because he's
Put bounty on it.
Yeah, definitely.
Sam's a good guy.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. Country is all hell. Just he's out there, and I love. He's always out there with his son too, and they're a good team, and they've got it figured out there, man. What I mean, like for the longest time, I always thought that nitrous cars, they always blow the tires off, always do this and that, but out there he just hooks and books, and he is rolling out the back door.
Yeah, I remember. I remember when I first met you. It was down in Houston, wasn't it? Texas 2K, and we were at
Yep.
Mark's shop,
Yep.
and you come up to me. You're like, you had this look in your eyes. I'm like, oh boy, what's going on here? And then he's like, man, I've always wanted to meet you. And I'm like, that was the first. I mean, you're literally one of the first people to ever do that to me. And I'm like,
Really?
why does he want to meet me? I'm a fucking nobody.
Yeah, and it was funny because literally, because I was there, and during something like that. Well, I mean, hell, you saw there was 100 people there, and it was just like, I was just like, bro, like I gotta meet him, like, dude. It was like I don't know, man, because like you're like the OG, the king, cash days and this and that. And I was just like, man, this is cool. You know what I mean? It's like starstruck, kind of.
Yeah. Well, I
But hell,
appreciate
we
it,
drove
man.
halfway across the USA, so I figured I was like, man, I'm gonna go introduce myself to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those
It was
tacos
cool.
were pretty good
It
out
was
there
cool.
too.
Yeah. I know the race didn't happen because I guess the popo kind of showed up and kind of ruined everything that night. But
Yeah,
I can't remember if that was the deal. We did it during the day, the next day in the
yeah. That
morning.
was by the time that we got back, because our hotel room was like an hour and a half away from there, or something like that. So by the time we got back there, one of my friends had stayed, and he just video chatted me on that, and I was like, man, by the time we get back there, it's probably going to be, you know what I mean, over. But yeah, y'all finished it that morning.
Yeah, because I think that was no, John, I'm a nobody. I'm nobody. But I think that was one of the fastest races that I've ever done. I think we did. I think there was 39 cars, and we did it in like 3.5 hours, something like that.
That's
And
good.
it just happened to be because we went out to the country, and then everybody listened for once. They did
Yeah,
what they're supposed to. We ran each race, bam, 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 and then after each round, we went and drove, and then everybody come up, and then pretty much ran in order again. And I mean, everybody listened. It was the stars, or I guess it was the sun and the stars were aligned, even though it was in the sun, it was daylight.
yeah.
That was
But
a good
man, I
time.
remember whenever we first went out there, I don't know what it was, but I remember parking back behind there and walking like a half a mile to the start line. And man, I gotta tell you, I love all my friends and bringing them with me and everything like that. But sometimes, man, I tell you, it's just like this last time, man. There's so many spectators, and they just do not listen. You know what I mean? Like that's the biggest thing, man. I always said spectators ruin street racing.
Yeah, and that spot out there, man. If the moon ain't out, you'll be walking into people. It was so dark out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's the way I like it. Dark.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Well, I mean, that's the same
Oh
way out
yeah.
there at the one before Dig or Die. You go out
yeah,
there, you might bump into a tree or Sasquatch or anything.
Fucking Sasquatch.
yeah. Speaking of Dirty Beaver, what's up, Trent?
Hello. Oh, I mean, I didn't realize I'm in the show. I thought it was still next stage. What's up, fellas? Sorry for being late. Work ran kind of late. I ran home like a fucking psychopath. I'm in my work t-shirt. I didn't get a chance to change yet, but at least I took off my green hat, so I didn't do any rookie shit like I did a few weeks ago.
What's
But
up,
hi,
Todd?
Clifton. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
What's up, buddy? Good to finally. I think this is the first time I would have ever actually talked to you, like
I think
in person, but
that's
not in
accurate.
person. So
I think that's
Okay.
accurate. The world we live in now.
right.
Clifton don't make his head any bigger than it already is.
Hey! Look how little my head is. You do your big ass mountain above me. Look at the fucking guy up there. All right. So what have I missed? What have I missed? Uh-oh. What? Really?
I'm trying to do.
Oh, you can't do this. Oh, okay. He can't do it with his other hand. What's up with that? Just a naked scissor, so it'd be great.
I'm holding a fucking monopod deal.
You're
And I'm
man on the streets. It's our man on location, the one and only Limpy. I like it. So I came in as backstage for Brian threw me in here. I came in backstage and I basically heard all spectators run street racing. So what did I miss? Because that sounds fun.
Basically, we were just hitting on that. Whenever because I've had a race before where there was 200 people there and it went off without a hitch.
Yeah.
Everybody was nice, and respectful. Listen, but I've also had one before where I literally was screaming, at people, like to the point of losing my voice, to get behind the line, stay out of the lane, do this and that. And don't get me wrong, I love to put on a show and
Sure.
have fun and do whatever. But to the life of me, I will never understand why someone will want to go out in the middle of a cornfield and stand in front of two cars on a sketchy road going 150 miles an hour. Like, I don't get it. And they want to line the road in front of the line, and it just, I don't see why, or why anybody would want to do that. But
Well, I have some opinions if you'd like to hear them.
absolutely.
I always got opinions. So let's just start with the general overall opinion. This has nothing to do with racers. People are stupid. Let's just start with that.
Yeah,
And I don't mean
yeah,
anyone in
definitely.
particular. People in groups, we are just stupid, and we're all subject to it. That's where you get, like mass panic and mob action and stuff like that. Like, you see birds, you ever see birds fly? I know it's going to sound crazy, but hear me out. And they all turn at the exact same time. Like,
Yeah.
schools of fish, they just go at the same time. And I think at some point, like, we become like the birds. Like, one guy goes that way, we're all like, oh, we better go that fucking way. Like, we all just follow. And so many people are prone to that. And I ain't gonna get on a rant about this, but right now, with the whole COVID thing, like, that has, to me, highlighted people that are group thinkers versus people that are independent thinkers. And I'm going to leave it just as that. And when you get your problems with spectator crowds that just don't want to listen, it's a lot of them, they want to be part of the action. They want to be where it is. Oh, this is awesome. This is great. Nobody's thinking about getting run over by a fucking car until it happens. And they're like, I can't believe this happened. Meanwhile, those of us who are in charge of this shit are like, this is why we told you to move, dumbass. But they're like, I didn't know. No shit, you didn't know. That's our job to know. It's our job to know so that we don't have to have this conversation later. It reminds me recently that horrible tragedy they happened down at that Kerr County airstrip down in, was it Texas? I think it was. Dude, that was terrible. I mean, it was terrible. And, my heart goes out to the kids that were lost and the parents. But at no point did anyone say, well, why were they allowed to be there? Like, that's for those of us putting on events. I don't care if it's on the street like you guys or the track like what I do. Like, we are responsible for ensuring those people's safety. That's part of our job. And I can't imagine how difficult it is for you guys on the street. Because, dude, street racing, I ain't never going to claim to be on the streets. I haven't been on the streets in a long ass time. I'm never going to claim it. That's your guys' domain, and I respect that. But it was different back then. We didn't have the awareness, like when I was going out on the streets every night, like, that's when Fast and Furious came out and ruined it for everybody, because 400 fucking people showed up because it was in a movie. And now you've got TV shows about it everywhere, and everybody wants to be part of, the action. Oh, fucking, maybe one of the TV guys will show up. Okay. Yeah. If you're in Oklahoma or the right spot of Texas, but otherwise, no, there's a lot of other people that are going to show up that you're never going to see on TV. Those are actual street guys, and it's so much different from what I see. I mean, I see the videos like everybody else does. Like, you guys have a lot to contend with, and you don't have the advantage of like a multi-thousand-watt PA being like, get off the line. You can't do that, and my go-to for years in a track situation, if we had a line crowding problem, fuck it, hit the reds and we just sit and wait. They'll figure it out. And they start bitching. We're like, guys, we're not running cars till you move. It's that simple. Like, because again, if someone gets hurt, they're all looking at you, the event putter honor guy, like, well, why did this happen? Okay, yeah, because I'm like, hey, please go stand 150 feet out in the middle of the track. That'd be awesome. Thanks. Like, and I was watching recently, was it Billy and Tommy? They did a video. They went out to Florida. They were racing in, the middle of Florida. And I've been on some of the roads similar to what they were doing, working on there. And dude, there's nothing. Like, it's pitch black. There's swamps on both sides, and they put a car into the forest. They put a car into the swamp. Like, the car was in a swamp. Okay.
Right.
This shit happens on the streets. And thankfully, no one was injured. The cars were fucked up, but nobody was hurt, thankfully. But what if you had a guy down there who's like, I'm going to get a finish line video, who's not watching the cars? He's just staring at his camera screen and doesn't even see him coming, and now all anybody else outside of this little world that you guys are in hears is there was a victim of death at a street racing, and now suddenly street races are all fucking Death Race 2000. Like, I can't imagine how frustrating it is on your end. So part of the problem, going back to just people are in general stupid, everybody wants to be a part of it and nobody wants to listen. They're like, oh, the rules don't apply to me. No, they apply to you. Like, they apply to everyone. And if you don't abide by a common sense set of rules, we're not going to be able to do this shit anymore. Because eventually, and I know a lot of parts of the country, you guys are lucky. The cops are like, whatever, they're out of trouble and they're out of town. We don't give a shit. To me, that's the way it should be. We haven't enjoyed anything like that in a long time up here. So I'm low-key really jealous. But, if you guys start having major problems, you have crashes, injuries, deaths, shootouts, all kinds of weird shit that happens, eventually, the public outcry is going to demand police action. And it's funny, for a long time, I always said there's no good media coverage of street racing. I stuck by that for years. And now it's on every YouTube channel and TV, and it's everywhere. And it seems to be growing. So obviously I was dead ass wrong on that. But yeah, as far as the crowds, it's without a definitive way to indicate to the people that nothing will happen until you move, you're just kind of losing your voice. I suppose we could, give you a big ass megaphone. Please move your vehicles, or please move your ass, or whatever the fuck it is. But people will be people. Okay, I'm done. Sorry.
Yeah, and that's one of the hit them with the light and tell them to scoot the fuck back.
Yeah. Well,
and that's one of the things I like about BJ in New Orleans at the pad, because I've literally seen 50 times where somebody's doing something or trying to run across the street in bed or stand in the middle of the road, and he'll just sit down and lay down right in the middle of the road and say, we ain't racing until y'all move.
No, and that's exactly it. And someday I hope to make it to the pad. I'd like to experience. I've heard it's just unlike anything else. And
it's amazing.
Yeah, and BJ runs it. Like, he runs that show. And that's it's awesome, because there needs to be, in any group situation, this is something I've learned on my own, through events and just, things I've done in my life, there always needs to be a boss. One boss. There's always one boss. And as long as, you can have partners and all this other shit, but one person bears the responsibility for a decision. And it could be, let's say you have 6 people putting on a race. Okay, person A is responsible for this, person B, and they have the ultimate say. It's not, oh, well, we'll go to one of the other people and they'll override, like they're playing mom versus dad, that sort of shit. So, but there's always got to be one boss, and the people have to respect that. And if they can't respect it, then they need to leave. Like, if you can't respect what we're doing here, then you need to leave. And then suddenly it's like, oh, well, why are you fucking picking on me? Well, because you're the problem. That's why. And again, I'm spoiled. If I have a problem, I walk out with a microphone and I just point at the guy. I'm like, folks, we're all waiting because this guy right here will not listen. So now we're waiting on you and your girlfriend. And suddenly the pressure gets to them, and they're like, oh, fuck, they're talking to me. Yes, I'm talking to you, a guy 10 feet away from me. That's a luxury I've learned to have. But on the street, like you said, BJ just lays down. Fuck all y'all, man. We ain't moving till you move. And, but that requires the people that are there to have enough understanding of the environment to know that, hey, you see that skinny brother with the dreads? Yeah, he run this whole place. So what he says goes. Like, they don't necessarily know that if they're not from that area. So, it's a tough situation at that point. And you got to be able to have some sort of leverage for people to notice. Like you?
No, at the chat, Samantha.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've got it maximized.
White pants.
Hey, Chris Lane.
White pants matters.
Well, Kara's going to get mad. All tight pants matter.
So Samantha's white and Kara's black.
That sounds racist as shit. So let me ask you this, Clifton. So in your area, with the people that come out to your races, are they generally respectful once they know that they're out of line, or do they get combative and be like, "Oh, well, I don't see what the problem is." Like suddenly they're the victim.
The spectators,
Yeah.
it really kind of depends. And one of the biggest things that I've seen before come into play is everybody's respectful and serious about it until somebody gets drunk or somebody's around friends or
Yeah.
something like that. And that is one thing that I've always said. I'm sure I'll catch some shit for this, but just alcohol and racing, in my opinion, do not go together.
Dude,
Like
alcohol
Don't
and
make it
men,
right.
alcohol
Right.
and men don't go together. Let's just put it like that. And it's and it's because, and I say men, I should probably preface this. I grew up with an alcoholic father. Like that shit runs in my blood, so I'm real cautious about drinking. But like we as men, we're very ego driven. That's just how we're wired. So as soon
Right.
as the inhibitions come down because you're drunk, suddenly instead of, you're like, hey, you need to move. Oh, my bad, dude. Okay, you were
Yeah.
wrong. Your ego takes a little bruise because you were bad. You got scolded. Suddenly it becomes, hey, you talking to me? No, I didn't do nothing wrong. Here we go. And that kind of shit. Now you got people that get pissed off, want to be combative instead of just, take, as my kids say, take the L, take the loss. You fucked up, take the L and move. Now
Right.
suddenly it's, oh, I didn't fucking do anything wrong. No, actually you did. And you're holding up the whole program. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
So,
And
and I just
and
think
the
it's a very guy thing. Sorry.
and no, and the worst thing about it is the people that give you shit about it because um for me, never knock anybody for what they do, how they are, everybody's different. But whenever we're out there,
Sorry about that.
there's one common goal, and that is literally to get this race off track,
Right.
street, whatever it
Right.
may be. You know what I mean? That's what I'm focused on. That's what I want to do. I don't care about, stories. I don't care about catching up, doing whatever. I'm focusing on the race. And a lot of people don't understand that there's a hell of a lot more that goes into it than just hitting the light and, just turn on and the cars go. The drivers 100% are the lifeline of it, and running a smooth show, on the inside looking out is the most important thing, because whenever you have the chips pre-drawn, you have everything done and everything is running smoothly, because you got to think, whenever you have 25, 30 cars out there and drivers, half of which you don't even know,
Right.
and the cops come, something happens, this and that, and you got to regroup and redo, find another spot. You're holding 10 grand worth of people's money, and this and that, and you're trying to get everything together. A lot of people don't realize how much pressure and how much
Sure.
shit there is that goes
Well, and it's a lot of
into that.
responsibility. It's a lot of responsibility. And again, I'll tell you, I deal with a different kind of responsibility at my programs because we're
Right.
never running from the cops, that sort of thing. I can't imagine the level of complexity that adds when again, you have 25, 30 people, some of them you don't know. So how is everybody communicating in case you have to separate because you get busted? Are you doing a group chat or a group text? Are you sending up smoke signals or, messenger birds or whatever? I mean, I can only imagine how complicated that can be.
Right.
Um, obviously in a perfect world, the perfect thing is no spectators. I imagine that's harder to do, especially with the interconnectivity of everybody these days. Everybody knows everything. But I mean, I imagine the racers don't give a shit if there's spectators there. They want to get the race done. They don't want to be looked at.
Right.
So I don't know how you would go about doing that. I know back in my days, I break out the cane, that sort of thing. Like, we would try to get, it was very difficult for us to get off, a half a dozen races in a row before we got popped. So we would meet, and then we would all leave onesie twosie in completely different directions at staggered times. We were going to meet at X spot at this time in an effort to not draw the crowd out. If like 15 people leave, everyone in the parking lot's going with them. So,
Right.
and it's much more difficult, I think, for you guys now because there's so much more, awareness and connectivity of it. And if somebody sees a high profile racer leaving, someone's going to follow him. Like, well, I think he's going to a race. Let's go follow him. Meanwhile, the guy's going fucking
Well,
home and they follow him to his house.
The world's worst is the drivers. They can't keep their mouth shut.
Yeah, I imagine there's a lot of that going around too.
They need
But
that
it's
clout. They need that clout.
yeah, but I agree with that. You would think nowadays that they wouldn't necessarily need the cloud because everybody's going to put it on YouTube anyway. They're going to see it at some point. Like they're going to get their 5 minutes. So, oh, hey, John, I don't know if Limpy, you want to touch on this, but I heard a little rumor about Chief in the show. You heard about this?
I don't keep up with it.
No, I didn't know. To answer what John said, I'm no means an authority on this, but the scuttlebutt on that is that there was some sort of a pissing match on the set, and he packed his shit. See you later. So
Oh, I
I
knew
don't
that.
know.
I knew that.
Yeah. Well, that's about all I know. It's fairly common knowledge, and that kind of makes sense because Chief's a pretty no bullshit guy. So I'd be interested to hear the details on it, but I'm sure it was some Hollywood shit. And who knows? Who knows? Brian Ripple, what's going on? Streetcar Brawl in the house. He and Derek Clem run a backwards program down here at US 41. So they're the backwards race guys up here, and they've had pretty good success with it. So I'm watching. Brian's throwing all these comments up now. It's throwing me off my game. Sorry, fucking Brian. What the hell was I going to say here? Yeah, as far as people and spectators and whatnot, I mean, I don't know, because you guys generally you do basically a meetup spot, and then everybody goes from meetup spot to the race spot after you draw. Is that how you're doing it now, or what's the general accepted procedure?
Yeah, generally. But I've noticed I've recently had a lot more success with whenever we meet up, go out and, do whatever, and we meet back up at a later time. Because if everybody goes, like most of the time, whenever we do, one thing, we may drive 45 minutes to an hour or even sometimes more to a spot, but literally
Sure.
if everybody convoys there, you may as well just meet up there. Like, I mean,
Throw some warning flares up. We're going this way.
Right. So, I mean, hell, what we did last time, just me and Limpy and all my boys from New York and everything, we just, we went and met up or whatever, and then we went and got tacos, and then hung out for like 2-3 hours, and then we went to the spot, and I mean, we kicked it off with, I mean, we were there from about 11 at night to like 5 a.m. and had no problems.
Okay. Well, the other thing I think you guys are dealing with now that, again, I'm dating myself. This is going back a long time, but like when we were actively racing up in this neck of the woods, I mean, obviously shit wasn't nearly as fast, and not many guys showed up on trailers. Like they unracked it and drove it to the spot and drove it away. And it seems like everybody's got trailers and rigs and haulers and all kinds of shit now. And I can only imagine that it makes it complicated from a space, a parking standpoint, and getting the cars unracked and getting them loaded up and all this other stuff. So, I'm trying to think what it was a couple of years ago when Bird got arrested for racing on the street. Jerry Bird did. And I forget who he was racing, but he just kept going. He just drove the car. I don't even know where he went. He drove the car. Was it?
The Black Vega.
Yeah, the Vega.
It was a Black Vega.
I think he made the turn like at like 30 miles an hour. He's like, Tommy almost folded over the front runners or some shit. And he just kept on going. He's like, oh, we're going to hope for the best. And poor Bird, that's where everybody was trying to race bail a free Bird and all that stuff. I remember that. But I imagine, the advent of everything getting faster and people bringing out trailers and all that stuff. And who knows how many people they're bringing with them. But you see, 15 car trailers going in a direction, something's about to go down. So it's got to be a challenge. For sure.
Well, yeah, a lot of people are from out of town, though, that they just can't leave their stuff somewhere. And
sure.
I mean,
well, yeah, it's, there's real, I don't,
trailer season.
Yeah, I can't imagine, or tow rig season, right? I can't imagine there's really a solution to the problem. It just is what it is, and you got to deal with it. The beard's getting pretty immaculate there, by the way, Clifton. You're going to go for Limpy status pretty soon or what?
Oh man, like I know you've never met me in person, and I don't update my picture a lot on Facebook, but man, for the longest time, I mean, I had a beard down to here, and like my fiance would braid it and everything, and like put Christmas ornaments and shit in it. But as of right now, I just had my son, and you guys just had a baby?
Yeah,
we just had a baby back in October.
Nice.
Thank you.
I want to say I read something about that, but congratulations anyway.
Yeah, and the first thing that he did, whenever I was holding him, he reached up and went yank.
Yeah.
So
Now, is
I
that your
said,
first?
nope,
Is
I'm
that your
too fat
first?
for a clean shave, so I'm gonna just have me a mustache.
Yeah, I hear that. Is that your first kid?
That I know of, yeah.
How are you? How are you? Oh my gosh. Oh, I think we all say that at some point. How are you adjusting? How are you adjusting to fatherhood?
Well, it's tough, but luckily I've got somebody with me who shares the load and all that. But man,
Yeah.
sometimes you get sleepless nights. Luckily, I'm used to it from staying up all night,
Right.
racing and shit. But man, I tell you, there's no better feeling in the world. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like just knowing
Absolutely.
that one day I'm gonna raise this kid to break the law. You know,
Oh, that's fucking dad goals right there.
hell yeah.
That's dad goals. I've got three boys myself, and my oldest is 16, and I got a 13 and a 10. So it's neat to watch them grow up. I'm not personally, I wasn't huge on the babies. My wife's like, why not? I'm like, because they don't do anything. Like they just sit there and cry and poo, But and now they vote. But anyway, they yeah, I said that. And but as they grow, like I think you'll see when like my favorite age of my kids is like 3 to 4, because they go from being little toddlers to like little people, and they start developing personalities and stuff. And it's my kids are older now, so it's critical. I think all the important stuff you kind of establish in the first 5, 6, 7, 8 years, but it's those are the times that you just don't want to miss, because everything's a first.
Right.
And I mean, I imagine in your case, it's going to be like first crawl, first walk, first flagging a race. Is he
Yeah.
going to be in the diapers, or is
Yes.
he going to be,
Yes.
like, do and drop a pacifier? Or, I don't know. So, and
Dude,
it's,
I
and it,
cannot wait until like my kid goes to school and
yeah,
everything, and like I'm gonna like wear like he's gonna be wearing like a 660 street,
yeah,
everything. Everybody else is like dinosaurs and
yeah.
shit like that, and my kid's gonna go with a 1320 hat and
I'm going to tell you a funny little story, and we'll get off the kid stuff, because I'm sure people are getting bored. But um, it's my kids, they wear a lot of anarchy stuff to school. At one point, one of the teachers is like, I don't think that's a good example. And they're like, it's my dad's drag race, like, calm down. And my oldest, he's 16 now, but he's been in the lanes. He's been part of, like, when we were doing COTS, he was part of COTS since he was 9 or 10. He was pulling the chips out of the bucket and we're doing the draw. And what else? He's been running staging lanes, helping run staging lanes for the last 3 years. I mean, when they would come home, the kids would do, back in the COTS days, they would do their very own Hot Wheels COTS. They would take a bag of cars and spread them all out, and they would do what they would do is they would draw the cars out of the bag like they were doing a chip draw, and they would rack the cars up, and they had this little 6-lane Hot Wheels raceway, and they do like a fucking 64 car elimination by themselves correctly. Like it was a proud dad moment. It was super cool. So it's fun to get the kids involved with what you do. Just don't get them arrested.
Yeah,
Mom will be mad. Hey, Brian, welcome back.
Hey, I'm back again. Sorry, guys. I take care of a few things in the background. I love the subject you guys were talking about. And I think, Clifton, we were talking about some small tire rules too. I know we're getting back kind of to your events and things like that we were talking about before. Maybe we can start a discussion. And now we got Trent here, because we had some discussions the last couple of weeks about small tire rules and things.
Yeah, we touched on that last week with Mike Kotis. He and I have been working together to kind of revamp our small tire rules. We've got 2 general small tire classes in our area, and we're basically trying to make them a little more in line with other stuff for people that want to travel and whatnot, and kind of keep it current and fresh. We've done, excuse me, anyway, well, yeah, I think we're going to have to touch on that one later, John. The original, up here anyway, the original small tire rules went back to when COTS started in 2008. And, that was Halo, Steve, and myself. And basically it was 28, 10, 5, non-W.
We're going this way.
Where are we going? What the hell was that? That was strange. Anyway, 28, 10, 5, non-W, stock suspension, no wheelie bars. That was it. And we rode with that for, probably 7 years maybe. And eventually we opened it up to, any suspension. It just kind of loosened it up and made it like, the baddest thing out there. But in our area, it just wasn't working. The streetcar stuff was more popular. So finally, in an effort for CODIS and I to, kind of present the best races we can to our local people, because we're in two different locations now. That's a long story, but I think Limpy's beating up his phone.
That's Brian tapping.
Oh, is that Brian? Is that you, Brian? What are you doing over there?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I just hear. Like, I don't know what he's doing. He's playing the drums on his desk or some shit. So anyway, but we were working on some rules. I asked Mike for his input. I'm going to get out of this screen. I'll go over to another one. I will be able to kind of give you an idea what we were talking about. For the like what we would call the killer 28-inch rules, it's basically a 28 non-W, steel roof and quarters, and no wheelie bars. Pretty much standard with what everybody else is doing. But again, I don't know that we're going to have a crowd out here to do it, simply because I just don't know we're going to get any people to do it around here, especially now that in my case, on June 4th, I happen to have a No Prep Kings race in Hebron, Ohio that same weekend. So I have a feeling it may affect our turnout in small tire a little bit. But as far as a max effort small tire, what's your opinion of that rule set? Just, steel roof and quarters, 28 non-W, and no wheelie bars.
For me?
Yeah, for you, or for either of you, really, but for you in specific.
For me, personally, it's the surface. If it's in front of the track and it's a decent, and I know that it'll come around in a round or two,
Sure.
I'll do, basically probably steel roof and quarters, no wheelie bars, 28 10.5 non-W, and stock location firewall, something
Okay.
like that, and maybe a back half or something like that. That's about as far as I'm willing to go on it, just to keep,
Chassis
cars
out.
that. Yeah, pretty much just to keep full tube chassis cars out, just because at that point, first round, you can run a 550, second round, you can run a 450. I mean,
Sure.
But whenever it comes to street racing or back of the track stuff where I know that, it's a tuning game and everything, then I've always been a fan of, 28 non-W and just send it. Just because I've seen plenty of people come out there, like I said, in, cars that, run bottom fours and
Sure.
lose to a car that was built, in a gravel driveway. So, that's really where I am. And I feel like that's about the maximum rules that I ever want to put on something, because I've noticed the more you definitely don't want to cater to too many people, but also if you just have the same four cars winning every event, then it doesn't let people who are just getting out there and trying to start, because we all got to start somewhere, and testing
Sure.
and tuning and everything is a big deal for it. And that's why to a point, that's why there is streetcar. I mean, because there's plenty of cars that can run in both streetcar and small tire and bounce back and forth. But specifically for small tire, front side, minimum rules, back side of street, just a tire, and no wheelie bars.
No, and that's fair. And then because we basically been working on a streetcar, set of rules, and it's a little more involved. Originally, like the streetcar class around here started. It was called 275. It is based around a 275 drag radial, and it enjoyed a lot of success there. We dabbled with letting a 28 in, but I don't know that it really did anything. I think the 275 was a bigger challenge. But again, we're working on drag strip. We're working on strip surfaces. We're not doing streets. So we've got a little bit more on that. Headlights, taillights, that sort of thing. I think that street races, with how dark some of these places get, these guys got to have lights. Like, I can't imagine how, maybe the cameras don't really do it justice, but I can't imagine how scary it's going to be if somebody leaves the track and you hear it, but you can't see it. you don't know where they are, what happened, that sort of thing. So
That's exactly how it was with Nick, and man, that shit was scary.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the kind of stuff that what got me thinking about it was, again, watching those Florida races that Billy and Tommy were doing. They lost 2 cars, and one of them, I mean, you almost didn't see him go. He was just he's just gone. Woof. You heard something weird, and everybody's like, "Oh, I think he went off. We better go check on him." That sort of thing. And obviously at racetracks they got a big rule about you have a tail light, and a lot of these people are running white lights behind the tires so they can back into their tracks now. I mean, whatever, dude. Just put a reflective triangle in the back of the car or something. Anything, just so that people can find you if you go off the track. But obviously, like you said, with the surface, the rules are not quite as important. I know, up here, Schoolboy, it said he doesn't care who it is on the street. If they're on a 28 and they fit the rules, it doesn't matter. But if it's on a track, it's a whole different situation because, like the car that Happy's building, he's not building it to be a big power car. He's building it to be light so that he doesn't need a ton of power to try to, reel in on the street so that he can get down the fucking road. So I don't know. I'm not sure what the answer is because, again, the street stuff I think is, like you said, so different. The surface is so much more of a factor than it is on a track surface. With exception to the one and only Kentucky Cash Days Amazon Warehouse Edition that Happy had a few months ago. That was one of one.
Absolutely. And well, let me ask you guys this. Whenever it comes to, like, obviously, everybody's been racing the same way for, a long time, just with a few tweaks here and a few tweaks there to small tire, big tire, and things like that. What, in y'all's respected opinion, classifies something as a street car? Like, it has to have A, B, and C, and D in order to be a street car. Because, man, I tell you, when I first set my rules, I try to keep them minimum. And, man, I probably got 100 messages in the last week about that saying, it's not this, it needs that, it has to have a radio, it has to have this and that. And I'm like, man, you ain't racing a radio. You know what I mean? Like,
well, here, the direct answer.
Every definition is going to be different. Everybody's definition is going to be different.
Right. It's basically like people's opinion of a street car is equivalent to whether or not they have a belly button. Everyone's going to have one, with the exception of some weirdos, but we're not going to talk about them. If you ask me that question, the first thing I would ask you is, well, how much time you got? Because it's going to be a long ass answer. But in short, the streetcar, I call it the gray area. I also jokingly call it the excuse. Dude, it's bullshit. It's been bullshit for years. And I'm going to give you my example. So with the 275 class that we have, that was kind of like our streetcar class. That was a brainchild of my former partner, Heyo Steve. And he's like, I got an idea. We're going to do a 275 and we're going to do a cruise. And basically, the cruise is supposed to level the field. Now, it was a great idea. People had a lot of fun. It was a fun, small little deal you did on Friday. But I asked him, I said, what are you going to do for rules? He's like, oh, I got this. I'm like, okay. Because at the time, I was the rules guy. So if you need rules, I'll take care of it, whatever. He's like, no, I got this. I'm like, all right, cool. What are you going to do? He goes, 275 and a cruise. I'm like, well, what else? He goes, no, that's it. I'm like, okay, that's a 480 class. And this is back in 2016. It's a 480 class, right? He goes, how do you figure? You're going to get a guy like Chris Hamilton who's going to roll in, in his fucking, Mexican bandolero music with a tortilla on his head, make the cruise, rip off a 480 and drive that motherfucker back to Texas. Like there's people out there that will do that. Now, I'm not saying it was going to happen, but I want, part of my job as a guy that was always writing rules is to try to find what's possibly wrong, like pick things apart, so that we can make it better. And it worked for a while, but then imagine this, it started getting really fast because guys got it figured out. And now with the, widespread advent of turbo cars here 5-6 years later, like a cruise doesn't mean shit to these guys, So the whole streetcar thing, I mean, how far do you want to go with it? You want to get Larry Larson out here with one of his 5-second drag week fucking street cars? Those guys actually drive those cars. Those are more of a street car than half the guys out here that claim street car that drive it, to and from the gas station, have to get ice cream once a week and then have to adjust the valves, So I think that the street car, thing we up here have tried rules, plates and insurance and, seats and upholstery. The firewall rule, actually, Mike Kotis and I were talking about this, as well as me and a couple other guys I know, about the firewall rule. About, I know that's becoming more popular, but it's a matter of, does a firewall rule, does it tend to introduce other questions that you maybe wouldn't have people ask? Like, well, if it has to be a stock firewall, how are they going to make sure it's in the right location? I didn't move it back, and I didn't move the motor back, and I didn't do this, and I didn't do that, because I operate on the mentality that everyone's going to try to fuck you in any possible way they can. And when I write rules, I always use the old smoking eunuch philosophy. If it's not in the rules, you can do it. And that's a very, very large gray area. But it's simpler. That's why I've always favored tire rules, suspension rules, stuff that is, not as constricting. It's easy to adapt to. One class years ago, I had a junior class we started, you couldn't have an anti-roll bar. People lost their fucking minds. Well, how am I going to drive the car down a track? I'm like, I don't know. The way they did it for the last 50 years. Like, come on, dude. We're trying to keep this thing from getting out of hand, which of course it did. It always does. But it's the streetcar thing. Personally, I just like it's played out. Everyone's like, well, my car weighs 4,300 pounds. Okay. And, a GTR weighs 4,400 pounds, and you can go fucking 770s in those cars all day long and drive them to Florida. Like, the technology has really rendered the streetcar argument pretty much invalid, in my opinion. Right. So, and that's where, like you were saying, the surface has become so important, which was really in line with, the earlier races when we basically were like, well, let's just unprep the race, back before it was even called no prep. We're like, well, we'll just strip the glue off and scrape it, and it'll be a tuner's race. And that was great, 12, 13 years or 14 years ago, when you didn't have, guys like Shannon Davis making technology that basically makes all of that shit irrelevant. You didn't have Holly, stepping up their game with the amazing technology that's in their systems now. You didn't have laser height sensors and all kinds of other shit and all these high-tech G sensors to adjust everything. I mean, for every rule, there's going to be somebody trying to beat it. And as far as streetcars go, my opinion is that the argument has long since been dead. And I'm not quite sure, short of, putting harder tires on it or, universal rules. I mean, nobody wants to do a weight rule in a class like that. That's just dumb. Obviously, there's a big argument out there. I know you guys deal with it on the street about all-wheel drive. All-wheel drive isn't fair. Oh, it's a Tesla. It's off the showroom floor. He can't race. Like, where do you draw the line? I mean, that car weighs like 5,000 pounds, for Christ's sake.
Well, I will say this. In all of my street races I've ever had, I've always allowed all-wheel drive, or really, it's anything on 28. Anything on 28, non-W, no matter what it is. And the last two of them that I've been in had two GTRs in both of them. And one of them got knocked out first round to the nerd. And the other one got knocked out second round. I think it was Sam Hood or somebody. But, I mean, it wasn't even it wasn't even close. And, because of that, I'm like, I love GTRs. I'd love to have one day, and they are very fast. But for anybody that's ever been in them and this and that, they are not they're hard to go down a two-lane road. I mean, they get very sketchy. They will throw you in a ditch, before you know it. And all-wheel drive, on that, it was not helping them. I mean, they got out about 10 feet, and then the car just started to crab walk, and it would look like more of a hindrance than it was actually helping them. Now, top end, they were rolling, but if a Fox body gets out two cars on you, it has 1,000 horsepower. It's kind of hard to reel them back,
Yeah.
What's they downgrade their wheels for a 28 or what?
Yeah, they usually have to go to a 15. They go to a 15 and change the brakes and all kinds of shit.
Yeah, change brakes and all that shit. If you allow, if you just allow 28s.
How is Limpy now? You've been to a lot of the street races, and all-wheel drives usually don't win. Is that usually the case most of the time?
Yeah, it depends on surface. It really depends on surface.
Yeah. Jasper's bringing a flux capacitor. Somebody who was, Brian Ripple, it said internal combustion engine only. Actually, Jasper, I have to tell you, I had that rule at one point in earlier COTS, and that was specifically done to keep Tough out with the jet car, because he kept threatening to show up with a jet car. I mean,
There we go.
it was specifically done to keep out riffraff. Let's just Brian edit that part out, okay?
So what is you guys are talking about like street racing rules. When it comes to that, should those same rules apply at the track? What you run on the street, what you run at the track
No.
in a street class, or do you guys?
No,
What do you mean?
No. My opinion, anyway.
I know
Yeah,
we
I
were
think
talking
that-
a little bit, Clifton. Maybe you can kind of share some insights of what we were talking about the other day.
Sure. So, as far as that goes, to me, people always try to push the gray areas, as much as they can. And like I said, for a quote unquote street race doesn't necessarily mean, for street car. And thing about the streets is depending on the surface, whether it be water, whether it be prep, a lot of these cars are fighting them, to go down. Whereas, a track, you do 2 prep burnouts and, the track is already back like it was, that last Thursday's testing tune.
Yeah.
So because of that, I don't really, as far as street racing rules go, I'm very lenient on it. And I've noticed it's, not always the fastest car wins, but it's the one that can be the most consistent and just go straight. And same thing for tracks with horrible surfaces. You got to be able to make A to B passes every single time. Just like always bring him up as an example. Nathan Jordan, he's got the white. I think it's a 300ZX, or it's I think that's what it is. He was in the finals at Digger Dive versus Jared Bradshaw. That car. Yeah, it's
Sorry, I'm playing with my phone, listening to you going over something.
it's I watched him go from a car that would either blow the tires off or do a massive wheelie, that was maybe going 1 round, maybe 2 rounds a year ago, to where now he's at in the finals at one of the biggest snow preps that there is, because of tuning and because of actually getting out there and testing, making changes, doing this, sinking money. And, because of that, I haven't really looked at the car up close, but the car is still roof and quarters. I'm pretty sure it would fit most of a quote unquote street car rules pretty much everywhere. But, obviously maybe not for interior, or, doesn't have a dash or, things like that. But, really, that's not really going to make that big of a difference. You know what I mean? So really it comes to splitting hairs a lot of times whenever you get into rules. And I think honestly, as long as people keep on coming out and racing, there's always going to be people in classes. But we also need to encourage, a lot of people to come out here and try, because, if there's something that, if there's a class where people think that they can get in and it not be full of a bunch of killers, I know that, people will. But whenever it comes to the street, it's just, for me, it's the fastest that you can get, the best,
Sure.
that you can get down on whatever tire rule. And that should always be it, because, it's a street race,
Right. And, as I'm reading through the comments while you're talking here, there's a lot of good points in here. And I know, obviously, Jasper talking about his flux capacitor, but, Robert Smith and Robert Presnell were also bringing up drive shaft sensors and traction control and all this other stuff. Obviously, a lot of those are good ideas, but here's the problem. The problem with situations like that is policing it.
Do it.
You would like to say, because it's almost impossible to police with the level of technology now. Davis has got a box out that has no sensors. It's all accelerometers in the box. Like, how are you going to police that exactly? Short of tearing the car apart, which nobody's going to do in a street race. And we all know street racers are always the most honorable of people. Oh yeah, there's no nitrous in this car. It'll be fine. Yeah. Come on, we've all played that game. So, and you were talking about the all-wheel drive stuff. I remember way back, we didn't allow all-wheel drive because we didn't think it was going to be an issue. And we went to allowing it, and people were kind of freaked out about it. And it's going back 12, maybe, something like that. And the Red Talon, the Red Demon, Devin Schultz out of Booster Performance, came out and he won a 26-inch class, but not because the car went A to B on the 8th, because we ran quarter mile and he just fucking steamrolled people in the back half. car weighed 1,700 pounds or some ridiculous number. He just mile an hour at everybody. And the next race he got, run over by someone faster than him. And that was pretty much that. But I remember I used to think that all-wheel drive had all-wheel drive had kind of a glass ceiling because of how out of control the cars got. And, it didn't take long for those guys to get it figured out. Now, you got all-wheel drive guys going down to bottom 7s, high 6s. I mean, that's insanely fast. And you were talking about the GTRs. They're also fast, but GTRs generally seem to have trouble like cutting a good light consistently. They remind me of the Turbo Buicks back in the day. They're fast as shit, but it takes them a while to get going and, leave just right. So I don't know, as scary as GTRs are, I don't know how scary they're going to be in an actual street race, because it's like rolling the dice to get them out of the hole, efficiently. And what else? Obviously the Teslas are the hot ticket now. People have been talking about them, ban internal combustion engines or ban anything that's not an internal combustion engine. I mean, I don't know. Obviously the reality of it is electric stuff is going to be becoming more and more prevalent, as much as we may or may not like it. So, and we have hoodies. Look at that. Hoodies.
I'm just phone ads up in between.
Hoodies. That's okay. Yeah, I know. Brian, you muted for a second. I was looking for one particular audio I have stored on my phone for the occasion. But I lost it. But no, I was just curious about something.
I was going to interject for a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, guys, we have our pre-order for our hoodies is launching.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I tried to turn it off.
Oh. Anyway, so we have our pre-orders going for our hoodies. Small to extra large for $41 plus shipping, and 2X and above are $44 plus shipping. And we also have t-shirts available too. So if any of you guys want that, I'll put a post up. You guys put your comments as you guys want, and we'll get those going out there. So No Prep Racing is kind of like sex, better about the rubber, raw out the concrete. So it's our shirt for the year. So you definitely want to walk around with that. It's kind of funny.
Raw dog the concrete.
Yeah. Back to our programming.
But just to bring up one thing, Trent, to your point about that, you said, and I was talking about testing and stuff that goes into it. I've seen all kinds of cars out there on that street. Chris, you've been out there to the street. You know how tight and sketchy it is. And, we've had people out there. We've had Rankin out there. We've had a couple of big tire cars out there. We've had, some really, really good setup cars. And I'll tell you, it's a lot of it has to do with just, it's not about the dog in the fight. It's about the fight and the dog type thing. And like John McElroy in the Handicapped, then the
Handicapped.
yeah. Do you know him, Trent?
I do not, but I love the car name. That's awesome. Handicapped.
Yeah,
is he actually wheelchair or what?
Yeah. He's in a wheelchair, and he's got hand controls that he uses, and he's got a small tire, steel roof and quarters S95 Mustang. And he goes out there and he goes rounds every single time. And
that's awesome.
This past one, he was right beside a barely nosed out Billy on that road. And man, I see him. I think he's Maryland-ish area, and I see them up there. Those boys, they race like every weekend on the streets, and he is constantly putting in work. And it's just awesome, man. I got his hoodie. I rep him sticker on my car, and it's just awesome to see. And I'm like, man, I've talked to so many of my friends. If that man is out there literally doing that, kicking ass and doing it like nobody else should ever have an excuse. If like awesome. there is none, you know what I mean? And he's an awesome dude. And it's just so cool to see.
That's awesome. I wonder if he knows one of our locals up here. His name's Brad Keller. A lot of people know him as Wheels of Steel, but he's in the
Camaro, right?
No, he's a Red Mustang. I think it's a Pro Charger car. And he's been big on, crewing with guys and teaming, being part of teams and helping other racers. And a couple of years ago, he finally got his car back out. I was actually very honored that he brought it out to one of my events to dust it off finally. And, it was a huge crowd favorite because he's just so well known in the community. And his big thing, he's got I imagine your buddy's got it, but he's got a thing called Wheelchair Mafia that he's a big part of. And, everybody's got a Wheelchair Mafia sticker. So sounds like he and Brad need to get together and do like a couple of grudge races. That'd be fucking badass. So Wheels, if you're listening, I'm trying to line you up a race. So, and I mean, I know Wheels. He'll be like, "We'll race the car. We'll race the chair. I don't give a fuck. Let's just do this." Fucking
Oh
line him up
man,
with the
John
chair.
John will be the same way. He'll go call him out right
That's
now in the
awesome. I
middle of
love
the
it.
2-lane highway.
I love it. I actually, years ago, I back 25 years ago, I wound up in a wheelchair for about 3 months. Very sobering experience, by the way. But I had my wheelchair and I never got rid of it in case, you never know what happens. And I loaned it to a racer friend who needed it for a while. Well, they were at the track during, I think it was RSD or something like that. And it turned into a grudge race with him and Wheels in the wheelchair, like freeing the beams and the whole 9 yards. It was fantastic. He lost, but it was pretty funny. So yeah, it is anything with Wheels, man. Anything
Right.
is all this important. It is not important. So we'll talk to you later. Everybody's calling, it's like, oh, you in the middle of a show? No, I'm just sitting around doing nothing. Been doing a show at 7:00 on Thursday for the last 6 weeks or so.
Right.
So hi, Limp.
Just
But yeah, man,
let's go.
Yeah.
I'm super excited for this year of racing, man. I know I just going all these new places and new tracks and stuff. Hell, I haven't been to the majority of the tracks,
Okay.
that I've got on the tour coming up for that. And, just going there and just visiting them and everything, and then talking to the people there. I was just like, man, I got to get people out here. I got to, and all my friends that I talked to that, race around here, they've never been to Twin Rivers, or they've never been to Paradise, or other things like that. And I'm like, man, if this shit is halfway decently successful next year, I want to go to Florida, New York, basically all up and down, and just, if I have 5 people come with me, I'll be happy.
I'm glad you brought it up. You said you're talking about No Prep Tour. Brian, can you throw that up real quick? Because I want to look at that schedule again. I know he had put the graphic up a minute ago. Let's talk about your No Prep Tour, shall we?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so there we go. Thank you. Leave that up for a second. So we got the 2022 No Prep Tour starting April 2nd at Shady Side, which is in North Carolina. And it looks like, let's see, Northwest South, Pageland. I haven't seen the flyer yet because I was running late. So I apologize. I'm doing my pre-show on air. So basically, it's in Calhoun. The thing is on the bottom, Paradise. So you're basically doing Southeast at this point. What was your, I guess, inspiration to put together a series like this? Because as I'm sure you're aware, this is going to be kind of a full-time job for you to manage this thing and pull it off. What was your, what made you want to do it?
Well, the biggest thing is just traveling all the time, going to different races every, week, every 2 weeks, whenever I wasn't at home or I had free time, I'd be going to, a different racetrack or a different street or something, always going to Corey Stamper stuff, going to, Dig or Die, or, I flagged a race that Matt Rice held at English Mountain last year, and just traveling around. And I got to meet all these cool people. And, I'm not exactly a social butterfly, or, maybe an introvert or whatever you want to call it. But sometimes, man, I like to be a talker, and I love meeting people, dude. And just going around and just meeting all these new people and just sharing stories, no matter what it is, it's just cool. And it reminded me a lot of, like whenever you had, was it Pink's All Out back in the day? Back when I was like 10 years old, watching that. And, I just saw
God, dude, I'm feeling very old right now, but okay.
So, yeah. And, just doing that. And I was just like, man, if, it's one of those things, like I've been in love with racing and cars and going fast and stuff ever since I was young. And I said, if I can make an impact or a dent or anything in this, no matter what, I will have lived a full life. I mean, hell, I could die tomorrow. And I feel like I've just had so much fun and been so thankful for everything. So I said, hell, why not just try to do something cool? And, and I figured, everywhere I go, like I go to, 5 hours that way, 5 hours this way. And I see, the same people that I see all the time at the racetrack, and my friends, and I always like to pile in and go together. And I was just like, well, at that point, why don't I just, have my own race series, do a points thing for the people who are out there busting their ass, and, whatever, to at least give back to them a little bit. I'm probably going to, depending on, how much I make off of it, throw some of the, money to make off that, and whatever sponsors or anything that I can get. Because really, man, I want this to be, I wouldn't even say like a legacy or something like that, but just to build something cool that I can have, just to say that I did it. Just I don't know, to go out there and do it. And I didn't really see anything like that other than maybe like Streetcar Takeover and something like that. But I mean, that's kind of like a whole different crowd when it comes to it. And I was just like, well, just new places, new faces, new races type thing, and just I don't know, just kind of seeing how it goes and just seeing how far I can take it.
Okay, so next question I have, and again, I apologize. Normally we go through the stuff pre-show, but since I was late, we're doing it now. So what in your tour, what is your general class structure like? Are you looking at running, one class, two classes? I mean, what give us kind of a rough idea. I'm going to get real specific, but a rough idea of what you're trying to do here.
Sure. So, at most of my races, depending on like where there is like a timing system available, I'm gonna do 5 classes. Do small tire, streetcar. Thanks, Robert. Small tire. Robert's right there was the one who donated to the small tire. He pledged $5,000 cash to
$5,000.
Yep, him and his wife, their business Gypsy Twist Designs in Spartanburg, South Carolina. He pledged $5,000 cash to one of the small tire races at some point. They'll announce it, before. And I don't know which one that they want to go with yet, but just to kind of give back to the guys that are, actually coming out and traveling with us and stuff. But 5 classes on there: small tire, streetcar, unlimited. / big tire, whatever you want to call it, and then 7.0 and 8.0 index.
Wait,
if it's
hold up. Time out. Did you just say indexes at a no prep?
Yes,
local guys, are you listening? I say that jokingly because I run 2 indexes at our series or at our race, and I get more flack than you can possibly imagine about how it's going to ruin the event. And that's not what
that might just be you, though.
What's that?
That might just be you, though.
Yeah, maybe. If you ask Mork, yes, that's me. I ruin everything.
But yeah, dude, we had a back whenever I did no prep last year at Pageland in South Carolina, and I had a 7.0 and an 8.0 class because I said, well, if all these guys can't come out here, because it's not exactly a even though it was a no prep, it wasn't. I mean, we had cars on the bumper, and I was just like, well, what are some of these guys that come out here that are just starting out, wanting to get into it? They got a Mustang, a Camaro, they got a car that runs on motor, something like that they would want to get into and run it. And I'm just like, for something like that, then I figure it's a great thing. And we had my first race there ever, we had over 20 cars in 7.0 and 20 cars in 7.0, over 20 cars in 8.0. And man, I'll tell you, everybody in the world, Paul was bringing out his big tire Nova out there with 500 stickers on it with a 350 board 30 over, all that coming out there, blowing the tires off at the line. And then some kid, in a Mustang was just driving by him and they don't know what to do. And I just thought it was awesome.
Sure. I was looking for something here and I just lost it, but you were talking about indexes, and one of the things that I try to explain to people that are you're skeptical or don't understand it is, I tell them, I said, you got to understand that you get into more advanced classes and they're fast. Like they're not slow anymore. When the streetcar class way back in 2012, well, I called it junior at the time, is based around a 26-inch drag radial. And it was meant to be like a 1080 class. We were big quarter mile guys back then. Needless to say, it got way, way out of hand. And the reason why I turned to a couple of indexes is because it gives the people that don't have the experience and the resources to go, whatever, 4, 5, 6, whatever your 8th mile guys are going, doesn't matter. It gives them an opportunity to get into the program and to, kind of feel it out and see if they like it, because I jokingly call it the gateway drug. Nowadays in our world, 1080 and a quarter mile really ain't that hard to do. I even have a 1320 index, which is, I had a guy in a pickup truck win it, a gas pickup truck. and it's cheap, it's meant to be fun, and it's also meant to, it's again, get people involved. And if you want to, stay in that kind of racing, then they can, advance a little bit and, put money in their time in their program and just go into the other classes. But I know I've seen, I've been doing this a long time now. I've seen a steady decline in certain classes of racers locally. That doesn't really work for out of town because you guys have got more small tire guys and you can manage. Whereas local, we just don't. It's a Chicago area thing. I don't know why, but that's been I guess my reason for including them. And I think it's good for people that, again, don't really know where they fit, but they know that, well, my car can go a 7.0, so I'm going to try this out. And if they come and they really enjoy themselves, then maybe they're like, well, I want to put some more money in the car and I want to try this street car class or this small tire class or whatever. And, that's kind of the whole purpose of having them. And from a management standpoint, as far as running them, they're so easy. They're so easy because there's no tech, there's virtually no tech whatsoever. You just got to run the number and that's it. There's really nothing else to do. And they're usually pretty laid back and they're just kind of happy to be here and, part of the program and enjoying themselves. So, and going back to, you were talking about what brought you in to do the series and whatnot. How old are you? If you don't mind me asking.
I am 27.
Okay, so you're a young buck, which is good. There's a reason why I ask you that.
No, man, I'm almost 30. My back's old. My knees are killing me.
I feel you, dude. I've been driving a truck for 20 years. Limpy knows my struggles, man. It can be hard on you. But I never really, this is going to be a little personal, but I never really gave a whole lot of thought to like what's next. I'm 47. I'm pushing 50, and I've been at this kind of thing for roughly 20 years. And I thought to myself, as I've been, doing this show and talking to more folks, it's really cool to see like the next generation kind of coming up and doing this. And I would classify you into that because there's always going to be somebody that's got to put the races on, and it's more important than I think some people want to realize. They all like to, tease promoters and y'all are just out for money and, blah, blah, blah. And maybe it's just my local guys. Hell, maybe it's just me. Maybe I suck. I don't know. But right now I have the microphone, so I don't care. But somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to be a starter. Somebody's got to be a tech official. Somebody has to work in a tower. Somebody has to work at the front gate. Like, it takes people of all kinds to put events together. On a track or a street. Obviously a street has a lot less people because you're not doing half that shit, but there's got to be somebody doing what you guys are doing. Like, everybody says, oh, well, lighting a race is easy. Okay, cool. Go talk to Limpy. Let me know how that goes for you. Like, everybody turn a flashlight on. It's not the same. And there's a reason why guys like Limpy and BJ, are sought after, hired basically to come out and light a race because, they're OGs of the game. There's something to that. And it's nice to see the, like you said, the younger generation kind of coming up and getting involved in putting races together. Cause there's going to come a point at which we just get too old for this shit. Like, we're just, racers come and go and promoters are going to come and go. It doesn't matter how long you're doing it. So it's always good to know there are more people that are willing to step into the role because, as I'm sure by now, it's not just show up and fuck bitches. It doesn't work that way. It can be stressful. It can be a lot of work.
It's a sausage party, actually, but
well, yeah, you know what I mean, but it's not a lot of guys, like, oh, it's just a paycheck. Okay. I say the same thing to everybody that has a skeptical opinion of that. Put on an event, tell us where it is. We will pay admission and sit in the stands to see how well you do, and we will take notes. That's I've said that for years. Like with announcing, when people get mad about announcing, just go over and give them the microphone. Here you go, buddy. Here you go. And you know what they'll do? They'll back away. Go, I don't want that thing. Okay, why not? It's just announcing. It's just talking into a microphone. What's the problem? Same thing where if somebody criticized Limpy, even though he's sideways right now, you're breaking my neck there, brother. Somebody went over and criticized Limpy about lighting a race. There's a flashlight, dude. Knock yourself out. Enjoy. But it's there it is. Oh, now I'm on top of Limpy. But it's not as easy as people think it is. Just like, racing isn't as easy as people think it is. My wife, now Limpy's much bigger than I am. I'm offended. My wife, love her to death, but she thinks drag racing is the most boring, basic shit you ever see in your life. She goes, how hard is it to drive in a straight line? Like, you'd be surprised. Like,
Right.
Not everybody gets it. People don't get NASCAR. How hard is it to turn left? I don't know. Ask Dale Earnhardt. That sort of thing. So it takes people of all kinds to make this stuff happen and to keep it alive. So from my perspective, as somebody who's been doing it a long time, I appreciate what you're doing. I really do. And I hope you do well. I'm hoping to maybe make it out to one of them. I don't know, because it's kind of far from me, but you never know. I work locally now, so I have some more freedom to maybe get around a little bit. Maybe, I don't know. Hey, there's Brian. I can hear the background noise. Hi, Brian.
Well, I appreciate that a lot.
What was that? Was your computer fan or something?
Yeah, one of the fans.
Hang on, I gotta turn on the computer fan. His hair's blowing around. Holy shit, dude. All right, sorry about that.
Well, I appreciate that a lot, Trent. My just watching all these guys like Limpy and Corey Stamper and even Shannon at I'm sorry, not Shannon. The Come Up. All those guys. Just for years and years and years, and even people all across the country. Facebook, YouTube, just watching these races that I'll still go on. Like, whenever I get bored of watching racing, I'll go on YouTube and watch a race. And, I just look at some of these old ones and I just see how smooth they're running, how well they're running. I'm like, man, I hope to do this. Like, I don't know if I'll ever make any money off it. Hell, I lose money on most races, that I do. Yeah. But if you mess up or whatever, you just got to own that shit and get up there and make a joke. Like you were saying something about announcing. And,
it's so
dude, whenever I went out there and I first started doing it, dude, I was the most awkward person in the world. And a buddy of mine just said, and like these little headphones right here that I cannot figure out how to work. He was just like, wear these and then just, go out and talk. And I went out there.
The echo will fuck with you. Well, hearing yourself, the echo, I'm saying from the PA, it'll fuck with you. It takes a while to get past that.
Well, not even that, but it's just like I could hear myself, and I was very self-conscious about what I was saying and stuff. I'm like, oh man, I want to sound cool. And then like I get up there and I start flagging. I still have a microphone out in my pocket, and I bring it out, and I'm just, whoa, oh my god, and just like yelling and screaming. And dude, it is the best fucking time. Like whenever whenever CJ did that big ass wheelie. At my last race, it was like a 200 or 300 foot wheelie out there. I was just, I don't even know if he won at the time or not. I was just screaming and jumping around. Like, dude, it was like the excitement that I get when something like that happens. Like, I'm just, hell, I don't care if I sound like an idiot. As long as I'm having fun and everybody else around me is having fun, dude, that is literally the only thing that I care about.
And as an announcer, I've got some friends that have gotten into it, and I've kind of given them, I guess, pointers or whatnot. I've always said to guys that are kind of learning it, I'm like, you basically control the whole attitude of the venue. Like, if you're depressed, the whole venue is going to want to hang themselves. They'll be like, oh my god, why are we here? If you're like, I'm having the greatest time ever, this is the greatest race, and there's like two people, but they'll be like, fuck yeah, like, they'll all rally behind you, so you kind of lead, and in my earlier days, just to, I guess, give a reference or comparison, going back, early 2000s and whatnot, I used to do most of my announcing on the grass. I didn't do it from a tower. And so it was very interactive. And I love that part of it because, somebody heckles you from the stands and you can heckle them back. The difference is everyone can hear you. Like 3 or 4 people will hear them, be like, the announcer's gay. And I'll be like, that's not what your fucking mom said. And the whole crowd's like, oh, and meanwhile, the guys around him are like, oh, you got fucked up. Like, it's so much fun. And, I get excited just thinking about it, but that's the, that's the whole premise of doing it. Like, I don't know, what everybody else's motivations are, but like, I got into doing races kind of for the same reason you're doing it, is because you want people to have a good time. You want to facilitate people having a good time. And if you can do that, like, it's a win-win because someone's got to do it, so enjoy yourself. If it ever becomes miserable work, then step back and reevaluate it. And it can. When enough people want to give you a hard time and complain about everything and be difficult and stand in the middle of the lane in a street race, that sort of thing.
Man, people complain about everything no matter what you do. In every single thing.
They
Like,
do.
if the cars are too fast, they're too fast. If they're too slow, they're too slow. I mean, no matter what you do. So this is what, cut out all the bullshit. Take all the negativity out. No matter where you go, everybody's going to be, a negative Nancy at some point. And you just got to let that shit flow off your shoulder. Do not sweat the small stuff. It's just
Absolutely.
like me and Brian were talking yesterday whenever we did the little pre-show interview thing.
Sure.
And
Did
you
you
know,
get your
realized
social
he
security
and I
number?
are
You're
both,
supposed to get that.
yeah. And,
Okay, good.
and he and I are both
Okay,
realized that, we're people pleasers. And as long as everybody around us is having a good time,
Right.
I mean, I could be having a bad time, but if you are having a good time and I can see that you're out there having fun, I mean, that's absolutely awesome, man. There was,
Right. Makes it all worth it.
yeah, there was one at my Saturday night special race. I had a page on. There was a girl. She's probably, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 8 years old, something like that, wearing a hoodie that literally was the entire size of her body. That was one of mine, and she was screaming and yelling every time the cars went down the track. And I'm like that right there is the reason that you do it, because it's just so cool. You know what I mean? There's always going to be somebody richer, somebody, smarter and all this and that. And for me right now, that ain't hard to do on either. But if you can make somebody happy and you can take your friends with you and you can just do awesome shit every single day. Yeah. That's what life's about. You know what I mean? Like if in my future, I always see Limpy saying, the warden out there letting me do what I love and going where I want to do. Like that is the life. Like
absolutely.
that is, true happiness, being able to go out and do what you want to do, and go where you want to go.
Absolutely. And Limpy, what's your thoughts on that? You think the young man's going on the right path or what?
Oh yeah, definitely. I met him, what was it, 3-4 years ago? And
yeah, something like that.
And I could tell then that he was headed in the right path. So, I mean, we're all still learning. I mean, I've been doing this for 25 years and I'm still learning. So
you're not learning, you're just teaching now. Shh.
Still having fun. Still having fun.
Well, and that's absolutely what matters, because everybody gets into racing because they want to race, they want to have fun racing. No, everybody knows, at least they should know, that if you're getting into racing to win, you're going to be really disappointed because you're going to lose a lot. Like, that's just, I mean, any racing, it doesn't matter if you're an athlete, if you play fucking chess, you're going to lose a lot. Like that, that makes you better. And like in the motorsports end of things, with what we're talking about now, my thought for people that are getting into the promotion and event putter honor game, as I call it, is right now we're enjoying, I think, a huge surge in drag racing awareness and popularity. And that's really due to the TV shows for sure. But that's not going to last forever. The TV shows are not going to last forever. And I think it's going to be important that whenever that stuff starts to wane down, which hopefully it won't for a while, those, the people are having a good time with it. It keeps growing, but everything's got a life cycle, So it's important, I think, to have a good infrastructure of basically small local races, events, series, whatever you want to call them, to keep that crowd engaged, that may have learned about what we do because they watch a TV show, but then they realize, holy shit, they do this here once a month. Oh, I'm totally going. Like, and that's where it's going to be important to try to keep events, going and growing, and, people getting into the game. Because again, there's only so long that old guys like us are going to be able to do this or want to do it. I mean, I don't want to be morbid, but, I've watched people my own age that are no longer with us or younger than me, that sort of thing. And it's a very real part of life. So it's always good to make sure we got youngsters in the ranks that are kind of carrying the torch,
Exactly.
That's you, Clifton.
Oh, hi. But yeah, and I hope to do that. I was actually thinking the other night, I saw someone just scrolling on there, someone else that I know had passed away on Facebook. I never got to meet him in person, but I just followed him on Facebook, and just with everything that's going on lately and all that, it just I was just like, man, like it's You know what I mean? Like we're never promised tomorrow, ever, no matter what.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
if you don't live every day like it's your last, and I mean, what's the point? Go out there and do cool shit, meet people, and if something bad happens, you know what I mean? Like fucking shit happens. You know what I mean?
It
Bring
does.
toilet paper. So
It,
you just gotta get over it, keep on trucking, and just look out for the next thing.
it took me a second to
Get
catch
busy
that. Shit
living or
happens. Bring toilet paper. It's like
get,
it's like
get busy
COVID
living or get busy
101.
dying.
There you go.
What's that, Limp?
So get busy living or get busy dying.
Yeah, pretty much. And it also goes right up there with I think Sonny Barger was the one that was allegedly quoted as saying this, but is I refuse to arrive if you refuse to not live or be safe in life to arrive safely at death or something like that. So, obviously you want to be, I guess, realistic, especially when you got kids and whatnot. You don't want to do something entirely foolish, but at the same time, you can't live in a bubble. You just can't. You want to do your best to enjoy yourself. And a lot of people waste their time trying to chase money and all this other shit, and they look back and they're like, "Oh, I missed so much because I was busy working." Well, don't be that guy. Just enjoy what you do, and that way on the the pearly gates, you're not going to have any regrets. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
What the hell? Oh.
Yeah.
More Russian spam.
Or you can quote Abraham Lincoln. My favorite quote of ever.
Okay, go ahead.
It's not the years in your life that count. It's the life in your
Life
years.
in your years. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, Brian, we have more spam. Russia
more
is trying
spam.
to hack the chat. Although I don't know. This guy almost sounds like he's making a Voice of Reason reference. That was my old screen name back in the days. So,
What was it?
Sorry.
Mike Hunt or Peter Fitzwell?
What's that?
Peter Fitzwell.
No, Voice of Reason, ding dong.
Oh.
I didn't choose it. It was.
I thought it was
given.
Gobbler or something.
No, it was I can grow hair in my head, motherfucker.com. That's what that was. No, that was bestowed upon me. And John Ryan, who was part of the friend group back then, was in the Midwest F Body Association. A fellow named Paulie G has bestowed upon me the moniker of Voice of Reason because I was announcing and I usually had logical answers to questions. So I said, fuck it, it rolls. Let's do it. So I will ask you, Clifton. This is a question I like to ask people when I remember.
Sure.
In your opinion, in the beginning of what I would call your no prep career, what do you think the future of no prep holds? Specifically no prep, not street racing, specifically to trackside no prep. What do you think the future holds? What do you see in your little glass ball?
Like for me or just in general?
I mean, in general, your region, what do you think? It's kind of an opinion thing. I like to get people's opinions on where they think no prep is going.
So I think I think it's really, really good for the sport of just drag racing in general. Prep, no prep, whatever. I think specifically no prep is good for the sport. And the reason why is because it's getting more people out. It's getting more people to the track. It's giving people a new approach, to things. It's just like me and my friend Robert were talking. I said drag racing is one of two things. It's a starting line and a finish line. And whatever you do between, here and there, there's like 8 different, it's just like Taco Bell. There's like 4 ingredients, but depending on how you stack them is a different menu item. And yeah. And, I don't know if no prep will last forever. I don't know if it's just one of those things that it'll become a phase and then, go out in a few years. But it's one of those things that as long as people are going to the tracks, as long as I'm seeing these, small tracks get a lot of attention, like, and get these big crowds and these things where it's keeping it alive. I don't care what type of racing it is. And I think No Prep is doing a good job of that. And just, even bringing somebody to a track and they've never been to a track for something like that, it's a good thing. It's getting people out and, giving people who don't necessarily want a street race or anything like that, it's giving them an alternative to where they're still out there, doing the sport, having fun. And I just think that it's going to continue to grow. And I don't think it'll ever die. I think maybe it may flatline out here in a couple of years. But I mean, with as big of a following it is and as much money as there is in it,
Sure.
I don't think it'll ever go away.
I would agree with that. And I see personally, I see some comparisons, I think direct comparisons to like the origins of the NHRA, sanctioned organized drag racing. Like they didn't used to prep back in those days. It wasn't a big deal. That's just, it didn't exist. So it's almost like we kind of, in the whole genre of no prep, we unintentionally just kind of went back to square one and start over again. And in comparison to like the NHRA, most no prep stuff, it's obviously very entertaining because a lot of it can be sketchy and people, let's be honest, people don't go to NASCAR races to watch the race, they go to watch the crash. Like that's just part of what they want to see. Which nobody wants to wreck their car, but it's exciting. It gets your blood going. And I don't ever want to see anybody wreck nothing, but I won't deny the fact that a lot of people love to watch this type of racing because it keeps them on the edge of their seats. Is he going to come down from this wheelie and go straight? Is he going to go sideways? That's just the way people are wired. Look at any video on YouTube or TikTok or anything like that. If it's, sketchy, it's going to probably get popular versus A to B run. They're like, oh, that's nice. Nobody wants to see boring. They want to see exciting. So I think that's one of the reasons why no prep has been so well received, because it's exciting. And I think also a big part of it is because it generally represents a very attainable motorsport. You don't have to be a zillionaire to get into the sport. Now I realize that, people will make the argument that, the most popular or most well-known no prep is obviously the No Prep King TV show, but they're basically the professionals of our sport, and they represent our sport well. Most of them represent our sport well. Admittedly, I don't know all of them, or many of them for that matter. But from what I see and the few that I know, most of them, they came from humble roots and they represent the sport well, and they're entertaining to watch. That's why they have a TV show about them. So it just got very big. Hello. And I think it's good because it keeps it on the front of people's minds. And as long as we continue to offer local races for people to come in and check out, I think it'll kind of balance itself out nicely, because not everybody's going to be able to go to I don't know, what's the best way to put it? Like, people love going to see professional wrestling. They know it's all bullshit. We all know this, but it's entertaining as hell. And when they come to town, they pack the house every time. Monster Trucks it's a circus with trucks, but it's entertaining and people go to watch it. So as long as the racing is entertaining and it's watchable, I agree. I think it's going to enjoy a very long lifespan. Hopefully it'll outlive me, I'll put it like that.
I did want to add one thing in there. So at my race last year, my very first race, there was who's one of my best friends. His name is Steve Miller, who I know is watching. Shout out to Steve Miller. He came there and I had a frontside no prep race. And he brought it was like a 20 or 30,000 mile 2002 Camaro SS show car. I mean, this thing was the most immaculate show car that I've ever seen. A manual car out there on a hard tire, and was no prep racing it, and actually ended up winning the 8.0 index. And he came back. You said
8.0, is that right?
Yeah, 8.0 index. Okay. And then he came back to another race I had later on in the year, and he won that one as well. And I got talking to him and this and that, and he said that, he's just always looking for something to do to get in here and race, and just something. He grew up racing, dirt track stuff, and eventually moved into drag racing and stuff like that. But for the best of my knowledge, it was never really that serious. But then he came out here and he did that, and he won those. And for the last probably 2 months, I've been helping him look for a small tire car. And because
the gateway drug has engaged.
Yes, 100%. And we've been looking at stuff, man. He was even looking at cars out as far as like Vegas and stuff, like popular street race cars that were for sale, and we were looking at that stuff together. And he was just like, man, it's addicting. And I was like, man, if you develop the drug habit, you'd probably save money. Like, it's it's a good thing to get into. But man, I tell you, it's a lot to go from nothing to up to having a top tier no prep car.
Absolutely. And that's why I think it's important to have the more attainable, like entry level classes, that sort of thing. Now, actually, I wanted to switch gears on it because I'm curious if this is a big thing down there. It's kind of growing up here. We've actually got a raceway for it and everything. Are you guys seeing a surge in no prep RC car drag racing? Because it's really
Yes,
big up here now. It's crazy.
absolutely.
Really.
Yeah, I've seen people playing with them and stuff like at the dig spots, like before or after a street race. But I've always wanted to like, get into it more. But it's popular everywhere.
Yeah, I'm not sure who was really the one that spearheaded it, but yeah, it's become very popular. Like I said, we've got an actual Northwest Indiana, um, like indoor raceway. I forgot exactly what it's called here, but it's literally an indoor raceway for 10th scale no prep drag racing. And the guys they go and they spend all day there on a Saturday and they just eat it up. And they're getting fast. They're tuning cars with laptops. Mike Codis is way more into it than I am. I think he's got one or two of them. I know Schoolboy up here is like killing it because he just lives and breathes this stuff. And it's wild to see what these guys can do with an RC car. Like anybody else who grew up with RC cars, and we race them around, did some stupid shit. But all right, yeah, we'll get on that tirade for that. Let's see here. What else have we got on our agenda? Because we've been out for a little while. I was trying to have an agenda when we get onto this. I also was going to ask you, have you followed all the news that's come out about the 2022 No Prep Kings schedule?
Is that for me?
Either one of you, really, but I have more you because I don't know that Limpy really follows that stuff.
Okay.
All right, and on to Clifton.
I seen somebody post about it, and I just did a quick swipe or like look through it and all that, and huge supporter of them and all that. But I'll be honest, I haven't actually watched an episode of Street Outlaws or No Prep Kings in several years because I just if it was something on there, then I'd watch it. But I don't know. It's just like it just. I don't know. I guess I just wanted to get out and see the, the stuff where those guys came from, and like live it in real life. You know what I mean?
Well, and that I'm right there with you in the simple fact of I don't have anything necessarily against the show. I was a very big skeptic of them at first because I just don't trust anything that Hollywood touches. But to their credit, they seem to have done really well and good by the racers. Good people involved, that sort of thing. Shout out to Sam and Jim Hughes and the guys that are really at the top of that game there. But I was looking at the schedule and I meant to have a presentation put together, but I got so late with work I was not able to do that. I got bored last night. I ran all the mileages just to go point to point from track 1 to track 2 to 3, and just that's a screenshot I sent to Brian of what I was going to put together there. And it was interesting because just to run the series alone, it's almost 12,000 miles. That's not including getting to the first track and leaving the last track and never going home. That's just literally following around. And eventually I wanted to put together a map that shows, where they're going. Cause it's just truck routing 101. We do that stuff all the time.
Yeah, that's probably as many miles that I've drove this month for street racing.
Yeah. Well, that's, it's funny because I mentioned it in my Facebook. And a lot of people are like, well, that's nothing. I'm like, well, I'm just looking for kind of a bare minimum comparison just to, see how it shook out, that sort of thing. And I know a lot of guys like you, Limp, you're all over the place because you drive everywhere, or do you fly when you go around?
I like driving.
Yeah. It's the old trucker in you, isn't it? But it's just wild to think about, how much is going to be involved to do this. I think they've got 15 races on the schedule this year. I know last year they had them really close together because it started so late because of COVID and all that. But I was just curious. I was going to do a little bit of talking about that as far as, whether or not it's going to affect the people that race on it. Because it's, at the top of the game, the invitational and all that stuff, not everybody gets paid. It's an expensive endeavor just to be a part of it. Yeah, I was kind of curious as to what your thoughts were on it as far as if it will eventually start to thin the herd if these guys are driving, 13, 18, I think at one point it was like a 22-hour drive. You know, it's just a lot of wear and tear on the people and the equipment and all that stuff. And if I was going to ask you, knowing all that and knowing what it takes to race these cars, you know, what are the odds they're going to start with 20 cars and end with 20 cars and 15 races over the course of 12,000 miles in 6 months? I think they've got July off and that's it. Otherwise, you got to race almost every weekend. It's nuts. That was for you, Clifton. You think they're going to have a full cast at the end of the season, or is it going to be just remnants?
As far as that goes, man, I got to tell you, it's I don't know, you know, what kind of sponsors those guys have, how much money they make doing it and this and that, but I know like the amount of money and time and effort that it takes to keep up those cars, to adjust everything, to, you know, test and, you know, do all that kind of stuff. And I got to tell you, it's one of those things that you'll, at the end of it, you'll truly see who loves it and who's just there doing it for the clout, the, you know, whatever you want to call it, from that. Because, man, I got to tell you, sometimes if you know, aren't built for this and, you know, driving, you know, 10 hours at a time to go to a race and other things like that, like it really shows. And I hope for the sake of the sport and everything and the sake of what they're doing that they, you know, start with 20, finish with 20. But, you know, I mean, I've seen it before where, you know, we start with 20 cars at a street race and cops come once and we lose half. So I don't know, over 6 months and all that, if, you know, anything happens, somebody, you know, runs out of money, somebody blows motor, I don't know, but more power to them.
Well, and not a lot of these, you know, some of these teams, they got, I mean, it's like a pro caliber team. They got stackers and shops and spare engines and transmissions. And
we got an open trailer.
Yeah, dude. I mean, honestly, I think open trailers, it should be like a norm. You should have a class where you can only have an open trailer and nothing more than a pickup truck. Like just, you know,
by the time it's all said and done, you're going to see who has the most money that's tied up into this stuff.
Yeah,
still left in it.
And unfortunately, but it seems like that. It seems like that's pretty much a common thread in any kind of heads-up racing. You know, it ultimately boils down into somebody who has the most resources, which is not to say the most money necessarily. They've got the most talent in the driver, talent in a tuner. I think it's kind of an all-in-one package in some cases, but unfortunately, when you get to that heads-up stuff, money is a huge factor. This is a question I thought of that was not in my list of stuff to do. And Clifton, I wanted yours and Limpy's opinion on this. I've been seeing some races where street stuff mostly, where they're evening out a ladder by running preliminary races. And, you know, instead of getting buys and whatnot, if they've got a weird number, let's say they've got, I don't know, 14. So instead of running up with 7, they will run a preliminary so that they don't have as many buys. Or if they have 17, they'll run a pair to eliminate 1, and then they'll have a clean 16-car ladder. I have my own opinion on that. I'll share it when we're done. What is your guys' thought of that? Would you rather run preliminaries to even out your ladder or just let it ride?
The way that I've always done it is, you know, if you have a buy, then, you know, you just got lucky in there. But, you know, you don't have to race anybody, you know, to get knocked out, but you also don't have any data either. So sometimes I look at a buy, especially on a sketchy street, as not necessarily the best thing. I mean, getting a buy like into the final or something, sure, when you already have data. But if it's just like the first pass, then I say, you know, it's I just let them go, move on to the next round. But that's just, you know, doing that on there. But most of the time, you know, we try to just convince somebody into getting in that last spot or something to even it up. Or I'll put a cap on it and just say something like that.
Sure. Limpy, what do you think?
I've been forever just been luck of the draw, out of the bag. But man, over the years, I just really don't like seeing somebody get a bye into the finals, just because. So I'm thinking I'm going to might switch it up to maybe a ladder style.
Sure.
And get all the buys done in the first round, so you can have even races throughout. But it's something I'm on the fence about right now. So
okay, it's one of those where I remember when I started, messing with ladders and whatnot, I was looking at, 'cause we used to do printed ladders and we, post them up and all that shit. And, they're easy to find. And obviously a 16 or 32 car ladder is really easy to run. And when you get into prelims or like, double elimination, it gets complicated. I've always been kind of a, I've always been kind of a proponent of just let the chips fall where they may. The buy run policy that we've had for years is that when we were drawing names, if it was an odd field, the last number out is the buy. And originally we would not allow them to make a pass so that they got a free run in the second round, but they didn't get any data. So you got a little bit, but you had to give something in return. And then they were the first name out drawn the next round. So they couldn't draw two buys in a row. If their opponent didn't show up, they got, a broke buy, then they could do that. But it didn't happen very often. I think Hyder, one of the locals who now lives in Florida, he got like 2 or 3 buys in an event, but it wasn't anything sketchy, just luck of the draw. But I don't know about this whole like preliminary, let's even the ladder out before we run kind of thing, because then what happens if someone breaks or, unfortunately crashes, because that does happen in that line of work, so to speak. I'm just pretty much of the opinion if you take what you got and you run it and hope for the best. Nobody wants to buy into the final, but sometimes it's just what happens. Somebody gets lucky. It's tough because you go through all the effort to square up your ladder and then someone breaks and now you got buys anyway.
That's the competition buy. Same thing as a competition buy. Somebody break during a burnout, it's competition buy.
Right, and obviously I had actually looked this up because I was curious because I heard people using different terms interchangeably. Because I know definition-wise, competition buy is the same as a broke buy, whereas a draw buy is, if you get it in the ladder, that sort of thing, which it's really 6 to 1, half dozen the other. But I've heard people throw the terms around and confuse the conversation. But yeah, I don't know. It's just right up there with, letting races happen in an event that aren't part of the event. It sounds like a great idea until somebody oils the track down. Now suddenly you're the asshole. Well, they shouldn't have been racing. They weren't part of the event. It's like, you try to do everything you can to be the best you can, but sometimes it just blows up in your face. And that's where I was thinking about with this whole buy run thing, whether or not, like I said, it's better to square the ladder up so that it runs smoothly and hope nobody breaks, or if you just take the numbers you got, hope for the best, But I didn't know in your guys' case, if you wind up maxing out at 32 cars and just being done with it. Obviously 32 cars makes for a clean ladder if you can get it, but that's a lot of cars. 16 is easier to get, but I think you guys probably get a lot more than 16 out where you're at.
Well, normally we do in any of my races, I do a 32 car cap, but if we only get like, I don't know, 16 or 18 or something like that, then normally I just say, all right, well, let's just, raise the entry and cut it in half or something like that, just make it more interesting, and just kind of go from there. But a lot of times we always talk to the drivers about it, and I let, them, weigh in on it and see, because, I know a lot of guys don't want to come out there and run for, $500 or $1,000 each time. You know what I mean? So it's and sometimes it's easier to do 32 cars at like $200 than 10 at 1,000 or something like that.
Sure, yeah. If the races are down for it, absolutely.
Without them, we wouldn't have anything to do. So got to make sure they're taken care of.
I see Brian over there pacing feverishly. What's up, Brian?
Not much. We're going to get near the end here, guys. I appreciate you guys for being on. It's been a good show, and appreciate you, Clifton and Limpy. Drive safe out there. And I got a few funny videos to play real quick. Some that were sent in to us. You guys can take a look at.
Oh my God, that's old, dude. That thing's been on the internet since AOL.
I know.
Jesus Christ.
Somebody sent it to me recently. It was funny.
It turned his garage into a drive-through.
Yeah, we
this
just
is for Bill Hoskinson, by the way. Bill, this is what you drink. Fuck that Pepsi shit. He's gonna get so mad. What else you got, Brian?
All right.
Mark Woodruff. Oh, this ought to be interesting. Got no audio. There we go. Yeah, still got no audio for some reason. What? Why is there a hat flying around? What the fuck?
What did I miss?
Somebody just lost a hat in the background back there.
Yeah, I was just doing some editing. I saw something in the background. I'm like, oh, what's this going on?
Who? Well, there was no audio, so who was that exactly? I saw it look like a Smurf back there, blue hair or something. I don't know who it was, but
Here, let me. You didn't hear audio? Okay, let me try to.
no, it was silent. It was silent film, like it was 1906. It was awesome, which sometimes is better because then we can kind of critique it as it goes.
All right, we'll do this again with audio.
Take two. What? Hi, Limpy. He's very proud of that finger. Yeah, we got nothing.
So you see what's going on in the background over there?
Yeah, I see someone talking.
Oh, there's blue hair.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, though.
Oh,
Wow, that disrespect. What the hell? I don't know what he said, but who is that? Do we know who that is?
that man's street cred score just went down.
Yeah, right? Like, how does that...
How long do you got to choke them before their hair turns blue? That's what I want.
Oh my God, dude, you're terrible. I love it.
So I must be the angry girlfriend, but anyways.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say who that was, but anyways.
Well, come on, you can't fucking tease us like that, dude. If you know who it was, 2022, name names.
Oh boy. So
I'm not gonna do it, is he?
No, I'm not.
So we're gonna.
We'll leave that be for the end of the night. You guys all got to watch the video and figure it out. I'll let you guys go to our YouTube channel and check it out.
Oh, does it have
watch
sound?
it, replay it. You guys will get who it is then.
I don't know.
I know Limpy was in their presence very shortly, not too long ago.
I know a bunch of
anyways.
people with blue hair, so you have to narrow it down a little bit.
But anyways, guys, I appreciate you guys. I had a great time. It was a great show. And next week we have Beater Bomb. Joey will be on the show. We have our Tech Sunday. We have Chris Lane going to be on. We're going to be talking prep and surfaces, temperatures, and how to hook on different kinds of surfaces. So we're going to get kind of down to the nitty-gritty about all that in our Tech Sunday show. And we've got a bunch of new videos going to be dropping from some events from the past. We're going to get caught up on some videos this next week. And you're going to see some things, some secret stuff's going to pop on sometime this weekend. I'm not going to say from where, but you'll see it here on our channels. And that guy down, one of these guys here might have something going on. And we also are going to be going out to Arizona for this, not that event, my bag. Just some of the events that are coming up shortly here. But we'll be at the Rundown on the Runway coming up out in Arizona. It's going to be a great time out there, and we're going to be kind of going there in California a little bit, having a little bit of fun for a few days, and it'll be fun. And hang out with Limpy down there. I'll be hanging out with him, having a good time. He can take me around to have a little bit of fun. And
where's it at in Arizona? Where's that at in Arizona, Brian?
Let me put that back up again for you guys.
Gila Bend. Gila Bend.
Oh, it isn't listed on there, yeah.
Yeah, the banner on the bottom runs over it.
The banner.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay.
Yep.
Gila Bend. So where's that like relation to like Tucson or Phoenix?
Tucson, north of Tucson, I think.
Okay. I don't know Arizona, so I was curious.
Somewhere around there.
Badass. It's a dry heat.
Yeah, I'm going to fly out on Thursday. I'll be there all week and all weekend, and maybe I'll come back Monday. And got lots of stuff we're doing. We're doing some shop tours. We're going to be doing some people. We got a lot going on that whole week. We'll be busy the whole time. And so it'll be fun. And everybody's having fun with the beers. Mine's getting there. I don't got enough fur to quite do that yet. Do the girls like
till I get the chrome.
Pulling on the beard, when sex, do they like that?
Yeah, I just literally like this and just yank.
Oh, is that what they do? Okay.
Yeah, they.
But, yes, but anyway, them plural all at the same time. I mean, no, Chris honey, Lane. Just one. What the hell? Chris Lane pulls on your beard?
What?
Well, I mean, I cut it, so I can't do that so much anymore.
Well, this just went a whole different direction, didn't it? Nice.
Well, man, you were talking about hooking and on the streets, and like, I mean, $20 is $20.
Yeah.
There's a reason
Hey,
for
real
the shirt,
quick,
but anyways.
to answer Richard Kopic, because I know he's been really patient. I'm hoping to have all the stuff out this weekend. I've been kind of sitting on it. Unfortunately, thank you very much for that, Brian. Hopefully we'll have all the information out this weekend. It's just, honestly, dude, I've been running 14 hours a day nonstop. It's been kicking my ass. So it's been tough to put it all together, but I'm waiting on some details from the racetrack because there's some cost stuff we got to work on. So that affects entry level and all that shit. So as soon as I have information, I'll put it out, but soon. Very soon. Traditionally, we've put it out beginning of February, so I'm hoping to be right there. So
Awesome.
here's
And
hoping.
We have our Double Chaos event. Limpy will be on the flashlight, and our Clifton's going to be there too. So we'll have a lot of fun. That'll be at. Well, you get an inside scoop on Twin Rivers then on the event, running the event down there.
Oh yeah, yeah. I get to meet all the guys that
Come
run
join us. Have
around
some
and-
fun.
That doesn't look sketchy at all.
I heard somebody tell me before, bring one of those little like pocket cell phone chargers or whatever, because there's like no electricity down there. So
That's true.
it's going to be fun.
So
Generator will get
basically,
overtime
my new
work.
business model is to bring my generators out and just sell power strip spots for like $10.
Oh, you make a
Noted.
killing. You'll make a
Yeah.
killing.
Like a mini
Nice.
Elon Musk.
Definitely. Oh boy.
Normally, I use them for powering all my PA. I could set the PA up in the middle of a cornfield, but this time it's just going to be cell phone chargers. Nice.
But so guys, anybody, I appreciate everybody, and we have our pre-order for our hoodies. If you guys want to get on those, you could definitely go check out the post on that, and we're getting that
Nice.
starting to roll out and get that going. And you guys have an awesome drive safe, everybody, and have fun in the streets this weekend.
Clifton,
See
thank you very much,
See lots
buddy.
of action. We appreciate it. We love it, and you guys take care. See y'all later.
Take care,
Trent.
guys. Be safe.
Yep.